Are you always coming up with ideas? Do you marvel at successful business owners? Do you hate being told what to do? Ever take things apart just to see how they work? Are you a dreamer? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Tapes and Specialties is the world leader in tape manufacturing and specialty conversion with over 40 years of experience. In addition to our pro brand of high-quality specialty adhesive tapes, we provide contract converting services that help improve your profitability, streamline your supply chain, and reduce inventory cost. We offer the most complete range of converting capabilities in the industry, such as cloth tape, double-coated tape, specialty tape, paper tape, masking tape, vinyl tape,
carton sealing tape, adhesive transfer tape, duct tape, foam tape, electrical tape, filament tape, foil tape, reflective tape.
And the tape just keeps on rolling. Visit us online today at www.protapes.com or call us at 800-345-0234. Pro Tapes, it's just how we roll.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Entrepreneur Enclave, Life's Coming Attraction. I'm your host, Kevin Wortham. And this evening, man, I am thrilled as you cannot even imagine. I've got my former Pitt Panther with me on the other end. He's going to drop science on you that I know you cannot even believe. Brother Kirk, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, man, it's all good, man. It's good to hear your voice.
Good to be heard, right? Right. Lyndon Kirkland. All right, let's talk to me. Let's talk. So it has been maybe, 30, 35 years?
Yeah, I'd say easy.
So I know we've got a lot to talk about in the 35 years, but I know what's really pressing on you and pressing on your heart is this business that you started a few years back where you are how would you best describe yourself? Because you're giving us historical African facts. How would you best describe yourself and your business?
So right now the business, I don't have it formally organized, as far as an LLC or anything like that.
Yes.
Right now folks just know me because this is what I do, right?
Yes.
And I've been doing this for a long time, as we'll talk further more. But I'm just an aspiring historian.
Yes. Okay.
Independent researcher.
Okay.
Who focuses on ancient African history, Kevin.
Yes.
And so a lot of folks, you hear a lot of talk out there about 1619. You hear a lot of things about the slave trade.
Yes.
Or the Ma'afa, if you will.
Yes.
But I like to take people back to the beginning, as my professor Kaba Kameni says, before the beginning began and before it existed. I take us back to the root, or to that seed where all things come from.
Yes.
Where all human beings come from.
Okay.
Where all the pillars of society come from, right? Mathematics,
yes.
Agriculture, music,
yes.
Even sports, right?
Yes.
So I like to go back there.
Okay.
To the beginning.
Lyndon, let me stop you because it sounds like we moving deep quick, but I want us to do some catch up first.
Well, that's how it gets with me, man.
I know, man. We went from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour, but I want the audience to get some background so they know our connection. We both went to Pitt together, right? I want them to understand that part of you first so they can see the maturity, right? Because when you were at Pitt, when we were 19, 20, you weren't thinking or talking like this, right? Were you?
No, man. I was. The seed had been planted.
Yes.
The refinement wasn't there, I guess, Kevin. Right. I've always been doing this.
Got you.
I think folks that it's funny because sometimes I'll see people.
Yes.
And they'll ask me, "Are you still talking about that Malcolm X stuff?" Because I was wearing the buttons, man, carrying around the posters, right?
Yeah.
And I bust out laughing. I said, I said, yeah, to a certain extent, but I evolved.
Yes. Yes. Because when we were doing the prepping, you were reminding me that you were in Lothrop, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Now, which floor were you in Lothrop?
So I was on the infamous third floor.
Yes.
In a residence hall, which I consider to be probably one of the best floors in dormitory history.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
I will concur.
You know, when and I think you alluded to that in one of the other presentations I heard, you were on that floor as well.
Yes.
And a number of other personalities, famous folks, you know, just great people, Kevin.
Yes. Yes.
And I was on that floor the last year that I stayed on campus.
Got you. Now, what brought you to Pitt?
That's a great question. So, I applied to a number of schools.
Yes.
That I got in. You know, originally I wanted to play college basketball.
Yes.
But I basically had sent all my paperwork and everything to Howard University. I wanted to go to a historically black college, right?
Yes.
And then I got this letter at the last minute from the University of Pittsburgh School of Engineering, Electrical Engineering. And basically, you know, my father was like, listen, man, I don't care about that school, whatever like that. You know, you're going to the University of Pittsburgh to go to the School of Engineering.
Yes.
So I enrolled. So I started the summer before because I was actually an impact engineering student.
Yes.
And I was hand chosen. So there was a man by the name of Dr. Carl Lewis who started the engineering impact program in 1969.
Okay.
And basically he would go into like the inner cities and stuff like that, and he handpicked everybody that came into that engineering program at Impact, right, Kevin?
Wow.
And I was one of those students in 1982. Although I did not finish there, but I was one of those students that was selected. And the way I understand it, you know, when people want to get, you know, African American engineers,
yes,
the best and the brightest, they're going to the University of Pittsburgh, brother.
Yes. Wow.
So that's how I got it.
Wow. Wow. And so, having started your collegiate career at the University of Pittsburgh, do you have any regrets that you didn't go to a historical black college?
No, you know, I think about it, man. I think that would have been a great experience too.
Yes.
But you know, I met my lifelong friends at the University of Pittsburgh, right?
Yes.
I met brothers like yourself.
Yes.
I met my wife there.
That's a major plus. Yes.
I met her there. I guess it's been I think 37 years now.
Wow.
And I took a decent degree from there.
Yes.
You know, I ended up getting a degree in mathematics and economics. And I'll put my stuff up against anybody, Kevin.
Okay. All right. So while you're there, you're doing the intramural basketball. You're studying. Why not continue the basketball? Why not do walk on?
You know what? That's another great question, right? So, you know, I did play intramurals, and you know, I always thought that intramural basketball at Pitt was kind of like being on some team somewhere else, right? Because because like, for example, the guys that there were some players, for example, that if they were redshirting or something like that,
yes,
they would come and play intramurals, right?
Yes.
And I just remember, you know, there was one team where this guy, you know, I won't call his name out, but he played 10 years in the NBA, averaged a double-double. But
okay.
that year on his intramural basketball team, he didn't even start.
What?
Right?
Yeah.
Now, so anyway, what happened was that, like, so I guess, you know, I mean, I was one of the top players in the state of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And I got kind of like dismissed from the basketball team my senior year. So I don't know what happened to all my letters and all that. So I figured, like, you know what, I'm good enough. I'll go walk on at the University of Pittsburgh, right?
Yes.
No, my game was that good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the coach at the time, Roy Chipman, I guess back in those days, and I don't know, I never investigated. He
yes.
said, we're not taking one.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. So then he ends up leaving, and they bring in this coach called Paul Evans.
Yes.
and Paul Evans was taking on walk-on.
Okay.
But it happened that at that time, I was taking my last class to graduate in econometrics down at Carnegie Mellon.
Wow.
And that had a conflict in the practice schedule.
Yes.
And I think the guy that ended up walking on at the time was the punter on the football team.
Wow.
And so at that time I said, I guess, you know, it just didn't make sense to do it. I mean, I think I could have made it.
Yes.
Probably just to be relegated to sitting the bench and looking good in warm-ups, man.
Yeah. Got you. So you figure I'm going to rule the intramural basketball up here.
No question about it.
Yes.
And definitely did that, you know, for the 5 years I spent there. I mean, if you were to, you know, take a straw poll from anybody that played up there in Trees Hall back then,
yes,
they would be able to, you know, to confirm the story I'm telling.
Yes, sir. I have no doubt, man. I have no doubt. That's all right. So you come out of Pitt, right? And then where do you go from there?
So when I graduated from Pittsburgh,
yes,
you know, I came out, I worked a year, and then I went back to school.
Yes.
To Drexel University, LeBow College of Business in Philadelphia.
Yes. Okay.
And you know, did that 2 years. Played ball down there too.
Okay.
Now,
Intramural.
Tried to walk on down there too.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I always thought that, you know, if you didn't play undergrad, you probably had some eligibility. And I always heard about people in graduate programs playing basketball.
Yes.
But then the coach down there said that, young man, you have no eligibility. So you know, my basketball playing was just relegated to recreational. Got you. And I've been doing that up until recently, till probably about 2 years ago when I sustained an injury.
Okay.
And that's what kind of like semi hung it up.
Yes. Yes. But so you come out of Drexel, and when is this bug like fully manifested that you really want to do the historical preservation? You want to, you know, I guess to preserve our history and talk about it and share it. When does that really kick into full gear?
So like I said, it's always been in me.
Yes.
And the seed has been growing, was growing all along. You know, nurturing as I go. But it was, I believe, maybe 2 or 3 years after I left Drexel.
Yes.
I got introduced to a book by a guy that lives on our floor.
Okay.
He gave me this. Matter of fact, I traded him a Malcolm X book, and he gave me this book titled "The African Origin of Egyptian Civilization" by Sheikh Antago, the great Senegalese scholar.
Yes.
Who back in 1974, with his protege Theophilo Benga, at the UNESCO conference, proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Egyptian civilization was a Black African civilization.
Yes.
And that those monuments and those pyramids and that civilization at its zenith was basically built by Black people, and that Egypt was actually in Africa.
Yes.
So after reading that book, I was like, wow. You know, because before that, you know, my stuff was more like domestic, like,
yeah, okay,
you know, civil rights era and all that.
Yes.
And then what I did from there, Kevin, was that I said, okay, so I mean, I know about research and everything like that. So that I just started looking at the bibliography and looking at what his sources were.
Yes.
And I start reading those books, right? So basically started basically like, you know, refining the craft, learning more, building up confidence. But it wasn't until probably when I had my kids,
yes,
that I really started kind of like putting myself out there as far as like a speaker is concerned.
Yes.
Like offering myself to the schools for my kids.
Yes.
Because there was nobody talking about us, right?
Got you.
And I remember, so my kids were at this private school, and they had nobody to speak, and I went up and did my thing, and at that point, I was just kind of like just spitting facts.
Yes.
You know, really no context, and you know, good facts at that though.
Yes.
And you know, I turned around, man, maybe about a week, couple of days later, man, somebody handed me a check.
Okay.
thank you note, right?
Yes.
And I was like, wow. So I just continued around doing that.
Okay.
As the kids grew,
yes.
But all along, still studying, still honing my craft, just like anybody else hones their craft.
Yes.
Reading more, just polishing up my stuff, studying, have an opportunity to either sit in a lecture with the masters at the time and
yes.
And just kind of like brought myself up to speed, right? And it's a lot, I can tell you.
Yes.
So that's kind of like what kind of like jump started me.
Okay.
Was really when the kids were in school.
Now,
and kind of like brought me to now.
Now, Kirk, when you hear the word critical race theory, right?
Yes.
Where does that fall in your mindset based on what you know? Do you think it should be taught, or you think that there needs to be a rebranding of the word?
Well, I mean, like I said in probably the last, I did 2 lectures just recently, and I was on a podcast last week.
Yes.
Never really sat down to actually read and see what critical race theory is.
Yes.
I've been hearing all the pundits and everybody talking about it, and apparently it's basically a story about us that needs to be told. That apparently powers that be, call them school systems, call Western civilization, call them Europeans,
yes,
don't want to be told because I guess it doesn't show them in a good light.
Very true.
Now, in my opinion, like I said, I would think that regardless, good, bad, ugly, anything, because I think there's no racial healing that's going to begin with us until we actually tell that story, right?
Very true. Yes.
History books are going to have to be rewritten, brother. The jig is up.
Yes.
The cat's out the bag. They're not going to be able to stop this momentum, right?
Yes.
Because there's a whole cadre of new scholars coming along. There's people like myself, and with these new platforms that are out here today, they're not going to be able to stop this message, man. And when we start giving this thing to the kids,
yes,
and plant that seed in them,
yes,
but I just don't know what the big to do about it is. Everybody else gets their story told in the proper context.
Yes.
We are the only people on the planet, for whatever reason, nobody wants to know our story, right? Matter of fact, they're trying to like either sanitize it,
yes,
or erase it totally.
So, but let me ask this question: why do you think our story is so important that they are willing to do that? What is it, based on the research that you've done thus far? Why is our story so important that they are willing to sanitize it and sometimes erase it?
Okay, I'll give you a great question. I'll give you a great answer to that. First of all, everybody comes from us.
Yes.
Right?
Now, now I know that, you know that, but do they know that, and do they want to believe that?
Listen, man, they know that better than anybody else because they were the first people to start doing the digging over in Africa, right?
Got you.
So for example, in 17 now Egypt, or Kemet is the real name of Egypt, the indigenous name, which means land of the blacks.
Yes.
And it has like a 5,000-year history made up of 30 families or dynasties. But anyway, in 1798, when the French go in, Kevin, they go in under Napoleon. And when Napoleon goes in, he brings his scholars with him, or
yes,
savants, if you will, right?
Yes.
And you can go see the pictures, man. There's a great picture in, I believe, Dr. Chancellor Williams' book, The Destruction of Black Civilization. Tony Browder's got a great picture of these savants taking measurements of the Sphinx, right? Yes. One of those men, right, according to Sheikh in his book, African Origin and African Civilization, Champollion is considered probably to be the first Egyptologist, and he's the one who found this document or stone tablet called the Rosetta Stone. Okay. And the Rosetta Stone is written in basically 3 languages. Was written in hieroglyphics. Yes. It's written in Greek, and then it's written in a form of hieroglyphics called demotic, right? Yes. He cracks the code. They can read the language now. But anyway, he's over there excavating tombs, Kevin, and he's writing a letter home to his younger brother because he's looking at these tombs from around what's called the Middle Kingdom, which is probably around like 2100 BCE.
Yes.
You know that before Christ, but BCE meaning before the Common Era. And he sees what's called a tableau or a hierarchy of men at the time.
Yes.
And it shows the black Kemetic god Osiris or Osar sitting on the throne. And then next to him, he says this, was the Egyptian, and the language is like, it translates in the man par excellence. He said next to him, there's no mistake. It's like the blue-black Nubian. Third was Indo-European or Western Asian. And he says last but not least,
yes,
the lowest on the human totem pole, an utter savage, his name is Tamu, was basically white folks or Europeans, right?
Wow.
And he said he was ashamed to say that, right? So the reason why all the hoopla around Kemet or Egypt, because it shows black people at their best.
Yes.
It's the zenith of black civilization.
Yes.
It's the oldest civilization of humans who are organized on Earth, and they built the greatest civilization. So whoever claims Kemet or claims Egypt is almost like they claim superiority around the world. So
yes.
Once they saw that, Kevin, right? You can't go around the world, trying to enslave Africans, right? By telling them that they have this great history.
Yes.
It's one thing to put shackles on people, but that alone can't stop a movement or stop a people, man. So like Malcolm X said, man, they just took the shackles off the ankles and slapped them on their minds.
Yeah. Now let me ask a question. So are we on, or was there a parallel track between Egypt and Greece and the Romans at that time?
Yeah. So the time I'm talking about, there was no Greece, there was no Rome.
Wow.
Right. So you don't get and that's what I'm saying, right? So like when you talk to like when you were in school and you're studying history or whatever like that, you always learned about Europe or Western civilization at their best.
Yes.
Which is the Greco-Roman Empire, right?
Yes.
You don't even hear about Greece is not even on the map, brother. You don't even hear about Greece until 332 BCE. Yes. Right? When Philip of Macedon and Alexander the Great, they make their incursion into Africa. Now, by this time, Africa has already been through 3 golden ages, right?
Wow.
If you will.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
And when they came in, it was initially it was curiosity, right? It was curiosity, man. So if you go back and read about people like Thales, if you read about Pythagoras,
yes,
you read about Plato. Yeah, Pythagoras studied 22 years in Africa, but that's where they went to get their education.
Wow.
Now the Greeks, they tell you that, and all those philosophers, all that kind of stuff, they all met violent deaths because you can't go back home telling Greece that you got your education in Africa, right?
Yes.
Thales told Pythagoras, you got to go where to go to school. And that's where they studied that, right? Plato studied for 12 years over there, right?
Wow.
They didn't even graduate, brother.
Wow.
And then so you got 332. The Romans don't come until 30 BCE.
Yes.
Now, one thing I will say about them, so what they would do, whatever was going on in their culture or their society, they try to do an overlay on our stuff.
Gotcha.
Right? So they were, so in a sense, the Greeks and the Romans, they were emulators because even though the political structure may have changed during their reigns, their culture was still intact.
Got you.
Their culture was still intact. Yeah.
Yes.
So we've been here from the beginning, brother. We've been here from the beginning, man. I mean, they got measuring tools that they found over there that are like 25,000 years old.
Yeah. And so why do you think it's so important for you and people like you to keep our story alive?
I guess the best way that I can explain it, man, is like, I can only imagine what it feels like to be an amnesiac.
Yes.
If you ever see those movies, like with people who lose their memory.
Yes. And
man, I can't even imagine, right? So, if I mean, if you don't know who you are, so if you're in it, you're basically rendered disabled.
Got you.
Think about what happens to you if you've ever misplaced your keys in the morning.
Yeah.
Or you lost your keys.
Yes.
And you got to get to work, and you're trying to get on the Turnpike or the Merritt Parkway or something like that.
Yeah.
And imagine what happens to your body, that shock that you get, that stress you get first thing in the morning.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's about our memory. We have a very long memory, man, because we're so old.
Yes.
And without that, I mean, I think that's like a compass for us. You know, I mean, like some people might think that history is irrelevant, but I think the stuff that happened back then is the stuff that will help determine where we're going to go.
Okay.
I mean, it's almost like, think about decisions that you made in the past, how that impacted where you are today.
Very true. Very
right?
True.
And
Yes.
I just think of people who don't know themselves, right, are people who hurt each other.
Yes.
Because we don't know.
Yes.
Right? We don't do enough loving. We don't do enough supporting. Right? Now I'm not saying that that's the panacea or the total solution for Black people's ills or setbacks today.
Yes.
I just think without that piece, I just don't see how we go forward, brother. Because what we're doing today, we're emulating what basically the slave master or the colonizer has taught us.
Got you.
And you see where that's taken us so far.
Yeah.
So I think it's time for us to start trying the African way, man, and going back to those principles that our ancestors taught. So that's what I try to do, brother, is try to help restore that memory, man. I mean, one of the professors I study under, Anthony Browder, he always defines himself as like a cultural memory, like analyst or something like that. He helps people restore their memory. So I try to be a part of that thought.
Now, so Kurt, do you think the challenge is folks are is the challenge, or are we ready to receive your type of teaching, or we're just not there yet as a larger whole of persons or people?
Yeah, that's another great question. So we're not quite there yet. The interest is there based on, like, I'm just talking about what I do.
Yes.
The interest is there, but the funny thing is, Kevin, kind of like how you reined me in at the beginning, you slowed me down.
Yes.
You can't bring it hard like that.
Got you.
Because if you're trying to unlearn 58 years of stuff that you've been taught in school, it's like cognitive dissonance, right?
Yes.
Like you've been learning all this stuff, and I'm telling you that this is the truth, right? The light and the way, if I can use those terms, right? And you're still not believing it, even though I'm presenting you with the evidence, right? Cognitive dissonance, man. So Malcolm said, basically, you gotta drip on Black folks, man. You can't hit them all at once. He ain't never gonna believe it. She ain't never gonna believe it, because they were always taught that we came over here on a slave ship.
Yes.
When in fact, if it wasn't for us, Brother Kevin, there would be no people on earth, man.
Yes.
So I figure telling that story, now for me, I mean, I'm a reader, but telling the story like that is a powerful story, man. And when I got that story, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Where's the next book at?
Yeah.
Where's the next book? Where's the next book, right?
Yes.
And that even helped me further my journey and wanting to polish it and be accurate and precise when I tell it, because I don't want nobody mistaking the story, man.
Yes.
And so that's kind of like where we are. I mean, we still have a way to go, but we everybody, we're not going to save everybody.
Yes.
There's going to be collateral damage. We're going to lose some people along the way. I'm not trying to say 10 out of 10. So if I can get my message across to 4 or 5, that's a huge victory, man. But it's a huge undertaking, brother.
Yes. Now are people ready to when you're hired, when you show up, are they ready to receive you, or they have no idea what they're getting into?
So I kind of try to give an idea with the titles that I do.
Yes.
And like I help people like helped out with flyers and stuff like that.
Yes.
No, they have no idea, man. But I show pictures. I have a slide presentation.
Yes.
So I show pictures. I show maps.
Yes.
And I think that helps out. It helps out now, right?
Okay.
Because you know what they say about a picture, right?
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Picture's worth 1,000 words,
Yes.
man. You know, so when I show pictures of, you know, our people in antiquity, man, that were, you know, pictures that were etched in stone
Yes.
and built 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years ago, and you see that big, broad basal nose index, you see those lips,
Yes.
and you see that head, brother. There's no denying who that is. It's almost like looking in a mirror, if you will, right? And I get major questions.
Yes.
I get requests for book lists. I mean, you got to figure, right, Kevin? Last year was the first time I ever showed my face on the internet.
What?
And I never even posted I did an interview in Mount Vernon, New York.
Yes.
At one of the largest Baptist churches down there. Interview just like I'm doing right now.
Okay.
And that person posted it on their Facebook page. And I think it got like probably 1,500, 2,000 hits. It was the first time I ever showed my face.
Wow.
You know, and so once people hear it, you know, it's refreshing, right?
Yes.
And every time I've been doing it, and so like, especially like the last year, 2 years, including now, my audiences are growing.
Okay, now let me stop you. Why is your audience growing?
It's growing because, number one, part of it is like the promotion. Because I mean, right now, my if you will, my customer base is kind of like small right now, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like limited to churches,
Yes.
you know, schools, or maybe groups that know me. Like I've done scholarship presentations for my fraternity.
Yes.
For like our scholarship committee and stuff like that, and when the parents and the kids get on there and see that, and the national officers get on there and see that, you know, like I've had our national officers see my presentation, right, and put me on the map there.
Yes.
That's going to help me go. And it's not like like I said, man, I do have a day job.
Yeah.
So this is something that is an interest of mine. But now I'm just continuing to read and study and to hone my craft and to start building an infrastructure
Yes.
for it to be a viable business, right?
Yes.
So I haven't necessarily monetized it to the place where like I could like, you know, that could be my living.
Yes.
But right now, folks they're getting me on the cheap and probably even free sometime because this is my gift, right? So I'm basically giving it away right now.
Yeah.
As I continue to polish and refine, man, and start working on like some curriculum type stuff, you know, setting myself. I'm not going to be working for somebody else much longer.
Yes.
But I'm just setting this up, you know, to be something that I'll be doing full time, right? So building, like I said, building the craft, building the infrastructure, building, potential customer base like that.
Yes.
I'm in the process of working on an internet presence now. Cause like I said, man, it's, you know, everybody has their time, but I don't want to use anybody's slogan like that, but you know, the creator will let me know when I'm ready, brother.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And when I get that vibration, you know, that's when I go full bore, right? But I think I'm going in the right direction.
Yes.
All my feedback is positive. It's because it's not like I'm spitting conjecture or, you know, hyperbole and like that, brother. I'm, like you said early on in the presentation, I'm dropping science, right?
Absolutely.
That can be verified. And,
Yes.
and I don't even really ask people to believe me. Go look it up for yourself.
Yes. Well, you know, one of the things that I've noticed since we're slowly but surely coming out of the pandemic, right, is that, and this may sound strange, and you probably can articulate it better, because of the George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, a lot of folks believe that there was like this huge chasm where social injustice was fitting in, and so now they want to uncover anything that supports our true blackness. And so I think that's where you're going to come from. I think you're coming from, had it not been for this pandemic, there would have been these people just hanging out around the fringes, just thinking it was cool to learn more about the Afro history. But now that we're coming out of the pandemic and we're realizing that black folks need to be more inclusive because of who we are, I think there's going to be a greater need for you. Would you agree that your stock has risen since the pandemic?
Nah, brother, my stock was already there.
Okay.
I think now I get what you're saying.
Yeah, okay.
Because what I do and the people that do what I do, we've always been there all along.
Yes.
It's kind of like it seems like it's a small community. If I start dropping the name of the professors and stuff like that, but there are times where you get this. I think the George Floyd thing, and for the most part, like social. Because I think about it, right?
Yeah.
Killing black folks in America ain't nothing new, brother. They've been doing that since time immemorial. It's just that social media and the cameras and everything like that is now put in the magnifying glass where now we're getting that information instantaneously.
Yeah, but I also think that because we were stuck at home and couldn't go anywhere while people were filming it, we had a chance to say, hey, that's not right.
You had to look at it.
Where I think that had the pandemic not happened and another brother would have been killed because we're so involved in our lives, would have been no big deal. We wouldn't have been pushed to the carpet to make change or to have change happen.
That's correct. So the other thing is that now we just hope that let's number one, let's keep the spotlight on that stuff like that, right? And let's. So the question always becomes with us, do we lose momentum? Because we're very emotional people, brother, and we have a tendency to get caught up in the moment.
Yes.
And don't advance the movement.
Yes, I like that.
You can go back and look at that historically with us, right?
Yeah.
So now that we do have this window, this is a very small window.
Yes.
And we should be full court press on it, right?
Yes.
And whatever those Black Matters folks are doing, that kind of stuff, what I'm doing and others, we just need to keep it up, man. Because like I said, you're not going to be able to keep us down, brother. Look, think about everything we've gone through, and we're still standing.
Yes.
We are the best of the best.
Absolutely.
Right? And we're still here. We found something to sustain us over what we've gone through. Nobody else has gone through this, brother.
Yes. Now, who would you say the greatest race? Where did the greatest race exist? At what period? Would you say now or around the 1500s? When do we as black folks have the greatest success?
Well, I mean, first of all, brother, there's only one race, and that is the human race.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. And
everybody, historically has had their periods of super success, right?
Okay.
You've seen that even you've seen, for example, I go back to China, you see their great success with the Shang dynasty and all that. You can go back, you can look at Japan, you can look at Europe, with the Greco-Roman Empire and stuff like that.
Yes.
But then, like I said, I'll take you back to Kemet, ancient Egypt, that had like a 5,000-year run.
Okay.
Right. So this is so my story is not necessarily about who was better, who was worse, or thing like that.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make sure that we are part of the respectable commentary on human culture and development in this world.
Yes.
And I'm encouraging everybody to learn your history, right? It's fascinating, but I just have to be, a black man that is passionate about our story.
Yes. Because
it's one that's never been told, man.
Very true.
And we're trying to tell it, to put it in the proper context, because even like you said before, man, there's a museum up in Boston, the Boston Museum of Fine Art. Yes. Holds they hold a lot of relics outside of Egypt. And if you go up there's a man by the name of George Reisner who was at Harvard, but he excavated this tomb of all black pharaohs in the Sudan back in the 20s, I believe it was.
What?
And they refer to that. It was an area of Sudan that used to be referred to as Kush,
Okay.
right? Or Nubia.
Okay.
And it was a dynasty of all black kings.
Wow.
There's more pyramids in the Sudan than there is in Egypt.
Wow.
Because the civilization, and this needs to be talked about more, and this is kind of what I do too. Egyptian civilization comes from the south. It comes from Kush, that word you see in the Bible.
Yes.
You always see it spelled with a C.
Yes.
But Kushites went on to spawn the Egyptians or Kemites. The Kemites come from the Kushites, and they tell you about that in their folklore, right? So anyway, this man, George Reisner, they're clearly black people. And he says that they were nothing but dark-skinned white folks. Right? The guy who is the head of the antiquities group today in Egypt, everybody in Egypt today, they're invaders, brother. They're invaders. They're not indigenous people there.
Yes.
They're just profiting off of the monuments over there.
Yes.
And I don't know the guy's name. I forgot it, but he's always on the National Geographic Channel and all these channels we watch it late at night when they're talking about Kemet. And he says, they're not the Egyptians. They're not black. They're not white. They're just Egyptian. And then they always talk about aliens or outside people coming in there and building that civilization, right?
Yes.
And I say, like, well, if there are people coming from outside, why is that stuff not replicated anywhere else in the world?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's the interesting stuff about what I do, brother, right? That period, and we had a long run, and like I said, we just talk about Egypt or Kemet because that's us at our best.
Yes.
But man, we went on to spawn other great civilizations too in Africa.
Yes.
Right? Following the Nile River and going west and east, man. Egyptian civilization, man, you can find the remnants of that as far east as India.
Okay. Wow.
And anywhere you go around the world, brother, we leave our calling card by those osteopathic, the fossil remains, man. Those lips, the nose,
yes.
skull,
yes.
head, clearly Negro to African. We leave our calling card on every continent, brother.
Yes. Now,
and the further we look back, the older we get and the deeper we keep digging, the blacker we get.
Now, at some point, do you think there's going to be this aha moment where they are readily prepared to accept our history and to embrace our history?
I don't think they're ever going to embrace it.
Okay.
Right. There's going to be an aha moment.
Yes.
Right. There's going to be man. So here's the thing, Kevin. Like I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books. Right.
Yes.
A lot of them were written by, they're not African writers.
Yes.
A lot of them are the ancient African or the Greek philosophers like Herodotus. People like Flanders, Petrie.
Yes.
Pliny. Plutarch. If you ever read those great books of the Western world, they all talk about it, right? People like Martin Banal wrote this book called Black Athena. You got a man by the name of C.F. Constantine Volney who wrote this book in the 1700s called Ruins of Empires. Man, they wouldn't even let that book in America in the 1700s, right?
Wow.
Because you can't. Godfrey Higgins. These are basically white cats, man, who had big money.
Yes.
That they had their family, and they just travel around the world and write about it.
Gotcha.
So they saw some of this stuff. They were like eyewitnesses, man, and seen it firsthand, and
yes.
they come and write books about it. And brother, the books be banned, man, right?
Wow, because they were telling too much of the truth.
Man, I bet you go on the internet right now, man. There's one book that I went out there to buy, right? It was called The Golden Age of the Moors, for example.
Yes.
Which were the black people that conquered Spain and Portugal.
Yes.
In 711 AD and ruled for 800 years until January 2nd, 1492. That's a $25 book. I got it for $100. I'm willing to bet it's probably more around $500 right now.
Wow.
For example, there's another book. I was in a class with this man by the name of Dr. David Imhotep. He wrote this book, The First Americans or Africans. Brother, that book must have been built up around You're talking about a $35 book, man.
Yes.
That book was like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, man.
Wow.
So you tell me what's going on out there, right?
Yeah.
And some of them you can't even get. You got to be real. You got to be real savvy to find some of them, man. I mean, I've seen books, man, $6,000. I haven't invested in any of them, even though I love books.
Yeah. But
that's what they do to us.
Yes. So you're saying the truth is out there. They just put it in the book, and the book is beyond expense or beyond the cost.
A lot of these books are, right?
Yes.
A lot of these books are. And it's a very interesting thing, man. And not even just those books. It seems like because before I got into this,
yes,
I was studying intelligence communities and geopolitics.
Yes.
You know, so when you think about these capers that get pulled around the world that we don't see, where governments and intelligence agencies and gangsters are in cahoots with each other, man, I got a bunch of those books, man. You can't even get them now.
Okay.
So it's a heck of a thing about truth, man, because like you said, the truth, man, like we said before, I think it says somewhere the truth will do what?
Truth will set you free.
Will make you free, right?
Make you free, yes. Okay.
But some people, man, don't want to hear the truth, right?
Got you.
But you can't stop it, right?
Yes.
Because truth is going to be on the side. It's just going to be on the side of the creator, man. You're not going to be able to stop it. It's only a matter of time, man. Things will happen in their season. Mm-hmm. And it's coming, man. Mm-hmm. It's coming. It's been prophecy, right? The time is coming. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like, you know, the truth reverberates, brother.
Yes.
And eventually, it's going to wake up those who are deep asleep, who don't even want to be waking up.
Yes.
Because of that.
Now, so I guess the next question is going back to the black culture or black folk and I think you talked about it earlier. What percentage of us will be awake to receive such message, such knowledge? What percentage of us?
You know what, man? I wish I could quantify that.
Yes.
I don't know. I really don't know that, man. I never really sat down and kind of like maybe, I mean, you would have to probably build some kind of model or something like that. Like yes. I said, I'm just trying to say 4 or 5. You know?
Got you.
But
I'm just thinking about, you know, people like you and I, or well, people like myself. I know you. I'm receptive to you, but could you make your presentation accessible, understandable, digestible to someone who's just hanging out on the corner who may not know about himself, but you know that him knowing about himself could be of critical nature? Do you think we could tap into that, brother?
You know what? And we need to do that. And I say yes, right, because it's funny because I still have some friends who are that I grew up with who are there. They're still there.
Okay.
Like you might not believe it, brother, but you know, some of us still have some friends who never left the block.
Yeah. Got you.
Or who never, you know, evolved or developed into maybe folks that run around certain circles, right? And some of it's not their fault, right?
Yeah.
I started to do that personally, right? Just me sharing my stuff. But like I said, man, I'm working on a bigger platform, right, to get it out more to the masses and everything like that.
Yes.
And then it becomes a function of where people are at the time, right? You know, what's your access to technology? You know, who you're hanging around with and stuff like that.
Yes.
And it's kind of like me talking to you right now on this wonderful platform that you have. That goes a long way. You telling people, you reading a book, for example, and recommending that to somebody else.
Yes.
You know, in the spirit of each one teach one. You know, that's a big part of what we do too, man. You know, a lot of stuff, man, takes, you know, that word of mouth thing is still has value.
Absolutely.
And now it's about social media platforms like this, you know, Instagram,
yes,
YouTube, you know, even the Zoom stuff, man.
Yeah, that's the crazy one right there, the Zoom.
Or even Facebook, you know, stuff like that. I mean, you know, so here's the thing I say: the mediums are there, and the information is there, right? Because like a lot of times, like folks, we use the internet for a lot of frivolous things.
Yes.
A lot of it is for entertainment purposes. But when guided or positioned in the right way, it's a very powerful tool.
Yes.
Especially for research, man, because the information's out there. And furthermore, like you just go click on the pictures of some of that stuff.
Yes.
It brings it to life.
Yes. Now,
so
let me ask this question. Speaking of pictures, right? We don't control the internet. Why was it in their best interest to allow those pictures to exist?
Well, I think that, you think about the architects, I think when they set that thing up, I mean, I think the internet, I'm not sure the date when they've been around, but I don't know if the military helped set it up or whatever. But once that infrastructure got set up for information to flow, it was probably really initially set up there, for commerce and stuff like that, whatever the benefit is for economics, right? But as that backbone or that infrastructure continued to grow and that thing opened up, yes. I mean, it's like the internet is fair game, right? Unless you live in one of those countries that restrict content.
Yeah. No, I got you.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like I said, man, everything is out there. Right? I mean, you can go out on the internet, for example, like maybe some of these banned books or some of the books that are out of print, and you might be able to find what's called a PDF copy.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they probably never really thought that far ahead. I guess I always equate it to like when I go to visit my aunt in the Bronx and her development right, every time I go there, I'm like, man, where's the parking at around this joint?
Yeah.
They probably would have never imagined in a million years how that development was going to grow like that, right?
Got you.
And they didn't plan for it.
Got you.
But listen, brother, we also live in a country, where we got First Amendment rights, brother.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think that's a big part how it is, because even though the internet, there's people connected around the world, there's some countries who restrict the content.
Yes.
Because they're trying to control the people.
Yes.
Hopefully that day never comes here.
Very true.
Right?
Well, I hope that day does not come in full fashion, but we still, we talked about it earlier on, that banning the notion of having critical race theory in the school, that's almost like, impeding on my First Rights Amendment.
Brother, they burn the books today, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of that stuff they're doing out there is crazy.
Yeah.
And listen, man, even with the internet, think about this, right? Think about the trolls, if you will. I think that's the right word. The trolls and the burner accounts that are out there that try to even misdirect people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or even bots, right?
Yeah.
So even though the content is out there, like I'm saying, it's a great place to get content. You still, you got to kind of like, use some sort of discretion.
Yes.
You might have to do a deeper search, right?
Yes.
In order to find something, because sometimes I'll look for certain pictures, right? And like white boys will come up, for example. I hate to use a word like that, but it sounds better when I'm telling the story, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to like page 3, 4, or 5, you'll see the right picture. Like if you go searching for St. Peter, the first pope of the Catholic Church, you might have to dig down deep to find out that he's black. and he's the first pope, right?
Yeah. And God knows they don't want to know that their pope was black.
Hey, listen, I got a better one for you, Kevin.
Yes.
So, for example, one of my presentations, right? Like, so there's a picture out there. The picture we see of Jesus, right?
Yes.
Is that of the picture of all your friends. I ain't gonna choose you of having that picture.
I got it. I got it in my house, man.
You know the one that's in the dining room, man, with Martin Luther King and the Cheney boys.
Yeah.
And you have that man with the blue eyes and the brown hair looking up that hater. Right?
Yep.
That picture was done by a man named Warner Solomon in 1941.
Got you.
I think it's the most. I think my son said it was downloaded like 500 million times, 1 billion times, or something like that.
I believe it. Yeah.
Right. When nobody knows what God looks like, you've heard a description.
Yes.
But to superimpose that picture up against a picture that's in the Coptic Church today that shows Christ painted black.
Yes.
And shows him coming at the tomb with the holes in his hands.
Yes.
And his disciples around him with afros and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and Thomas the Doubter pointing at him.
Yeah.
That's the oldest picture of Christ on. I think that picture's older than the gold coin by Emperor Justinian II I think this is in the British Museum. There's a coin out there, gold coin, Emperor Justin II, 82 AD.
Yes.
On the front of the coin, Kevin, it says in Latin, Jesus the Christ, and it has a picture of a man, right?
Yes.
The way I equate it to is like the brothers, the brothers that go to the barbershop and they get the sponge on their hair to make it real curly and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The front of the coin looks just like that.
Wow. So it's like the woolly hair.
Yes, sir. Yes,
wow.
sir.
Well, because there are depictions and descriptions in the Bible that it says he had hair like wool.
And feet like burnt brass.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, but like I said, you might have to do a couple searches to dig down to find those pictures, brother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when I superimpose that up against, it's almost like on Good Times when they found that picture of J.J. Penn of the Black Jesus, right?
Yeah,
And Florida went off, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the response I get when I show that picture. Then I show that picture by Warner Salmon, right?
Yes.
and then you see it. Same thing like with Hannibal of Carthage. Here I go again.
Yes.
The guy who took 90,000 troops over the Alps on elephants and conquered Rome, right, during the Punic War. And you watch the late night TV programs, History Channel, they have you looking like Hercules, right? The white boy Hercules, like we was growing up watching on TV. But if you go look at his money, man, you see the lips, the nose, the curly hair.
Yeah.
And on the back of that coin, he got his favorite elephant, Surus, or I think his name was Surus or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about evidence, Kevin.
Yes.
As my professor, David Imhotep talks about, he says, man, I'm not even giving you facts because facts change.
Yes.
Evidence.
Give you evidence. Yes.
I'm giving you evidence, brother. When you go to court, man, they hit you with evidence. Brother.
Yes.
You commit a crime, where's the evidence?
Yes.
You ain't got no evidence, brother, man. They're dismissing the case.
Mm-hmm.
Facts change, man.
Yes. Wow. So my question is, and I always like to use this, you've got a crystal ball. A year from now, what do you hope to do? How do you hope to inspire people with your research, your storytelling, and I guess just this historical deep dive that you're doing? How do you hope to encourage folks, to inspire folks?
Well, first of all, I'm just hoping to continue to refine and even expand my body of knowledge, right?
Yes.
It's very time consuming. It requires diligence and painstakingly. You got to be steadfast about it. But I'm just envisioning and positioning myself where I'm that I at least have a product.
Yes.
Where I'm able to reach more people even while I'm doing what I'm doing. So that's going to require me to do a little bit more networking.
Okay.
Look into maybe like some speakers bureaus or something like that to expand my audience. Not just black folks, Kevin.
No, I understand.
But everybody needs to hear this too, man. So
yes.
so working on that, got some advisors to help out with that. Some people who've already done that, and just continue to learn and put some documents together like curriculums.
Yes.
I've already begun. Because basically, I have a presentation that consists of maybe like 100 slides, for example.
Okay.
And just depending upon my audience or what the theme is, I can take a piece from that. I can pull maybe like 10 slides or 12 slides.
Yes.
And we just talk about that. So taking that and building like a curriculum around it and making it more marketable to different groups. So that's where I envision myself out in another year.
Okay. Now, Kirk, listen. How do you get credibility for the deep research that you're doing, the deep, impactful research? How do you gain notoriety, and credibility? How do you do that? Who needs to come in and says, almost like I approve this message? I mean, who needs to do that in order for you to have a larger platform?
Yeah, well, you might think the obvious way would say like to go get like a PhD or something like that and get their stamp on it. But at this stage in my life, I don't really need that.
Yes,
I think I think it's building one of those platforms like I'm talking about, be it like, a regular podcast,
Yes.
an internet page, something where, I can maybe have some exchange with folks.
Okay.
But then the thing is, right? Hey man, the thing is, like, you look up what I'm saying, there's my credibility right there.
True.
Because I'm not. See, there's a lot of people that are actually doing this right now on the internet.
Yes.
And a lot of those people, and they're just tossing around. They're just tossing around information, hyperbole, conjecture. That's not backed up by no hard research or even documented books and all that kind of stuff like that, right?
Yes.
So that another probably great way is to write a book.
Okay.
Right? And we know that takes time. So these are things I'm thinking about like every day.
Yes.
And it's really just a function of, taking one project at a time and completing it.
Yes.
But in the meantime, I continue to read and study, man, and research.
Understood. Do you ever become frustrated in your research? Like you wish you can get more folks to receive or see what you're researching. Do you ever come upon, where you have frustrated moments?
Yeah. I give you an example. And I shouldn't, right? I'm over it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sitting in church one day.
Okay.
And it's coming up upon Black History Month. There's no platform in the church for Black History Month in the Black community, right?
Okay.
Which is almost like unheard of. So the pastor, he's even talking about reading more, studying more. So somebody comes up to me, one of the officers in the church, and says, "Hey, Kirkland, this is what you do. Can you at least put together a book list and send it to the secretary and see if they'll share it with the saints?"
Yes.
And I'm like, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yes.
So I did it. I referenced the sermon, right? I shared it with the secretary, run this by the pastor, get the approval, send it to the saints. I think it'd be a great thing to do. It was like I only gave him 15 books, right? I didn't want to give him like a 3-year program.
Yeah.
And so this is like January 31st, brother, right?
Yes.
Something like that. So I gave it like a week, man. February is a short month. And books don't go, list doesn't go out. I didn't hear anything back.
Okay.
Sent a follow-up email in frustration.
Yes.
And it went nowhere.
Wow.
Sent the presentation to the pastor and all that kind of stuff like that.
Yes.
No feedback.
Wow.
So yeah, and I guess I just still got to learn that. I mean, like I said, some folk that's probably the worst place to really probably be teaching what I'm teaching, right? Because some of it you're gonna run up against stories of the church, brother, that's been forced down our throats for 58 years, 59 years, 60 years, right?
Absolutely.
And when that story is incongruent with the evidence I'm presenting,
yes,
it's almost like the veil. The pastor becomes, the jig is up.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying that there's not true stories in there.
Yes.
I'm just saying that when you bump that up against the timeline I'm talking about,
mm-hmm.
There's things that don't add up. So that's probably the worst place to go to do what I do.
Okay. Well, it depends, man. Because I've got a pretty deep and strong pastor myself, and he's I don't say he's a deep historical history buff, but man, he brings some jewels that you say, okay, that's pretty cool. I understand that. Yeah, I can see where there was some divergence between the African culture and the general culture in terms of religion. So I can understand that though.
Yeah, I gotta drop this name right here though. He won't mind, brother. Anybody in the New York area, man. I mean, there's a brother in Jamaica, Queens, New York. He's the pastor of this church, Rush Temple AME.
Yes.
Reverend Quavon Newton, bro, dynamite young brother, man.
Okay.
He has me every year, and his congregation loves it, man.
Okay.
That might have been one of the biggest church congregations I've had, and we did that on Zoom, brother, to rave reviews.
Is that the link that you sent me?
Yeah, the one where where they're doing the dancing and the singing and stuff like that.
Yeah. The verse, your first link you sent. Oh, that was cool, man. That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that brother right there is very progressive. He's not threatening or anything like that. Matter of fact, he's trying to learn from me, right?
Okay. Gotcha.
And his congregation loved it, man.
Gotcha.
And they're looking forward, man. They, like I said, I sent them a book list too, man. We're talking part 2s with that.
Okay.
You know, and like I said, man, I'm not trying to upset nobody's apple cart.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to tell our story, man, in the right light, man, the way it's supposed to be told, with no filter, brother.
Yes.
And I'm unapologetic about the way I go.
Mm-hmm. And you need to be, man. You need to be.
You know, and
let me ask this question. Where did that come from? Where did that statement or phrase come from? Unapologetic. Where did that come from?
I don't know, man. It might have been one of them sports programs or something.
Okay. Because I hear a lot of.
I'm saying it for lack of words, but I'm unapologetic about me doing it because I'm not afraid. I don't make allowances, and I ain't worrying about ruffling nobody's feathers about telling our story, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not worrying about, you know, some of our people who can't even handle that, brother.
Yes.
Because eventually you need to do some more research. You need to give it a chance, right?
Yes.
So that's where I'm going because, like I said, you know, the evidence is on my side.
Yes.
And that challenge, I'll debate anybody on that.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it. Bring the scholars from the Ivy League schools. I debate anybody on that, brother. I debate anybody on this stuff right here.
Now, where do you? So, when you talk about our blackness in the history of the black man, where do you want, or where can we start? Do we talk about religion? Or do we talk about our design, our architectural design, our engineering feats that we've done? Where do you?
Yeah, well, you can talk about the religion, but religion in the context of science, right?
Okay.
Because like modern day religion, religion. If you break down the Latin and the Greek roots of the word, or like even the prefix "re," as in rewind, which means to go back. And if you break down the roots of legion or leger, the Greek and Latin roots of those words,
yes,
means to buy or tithe, or basically to go back to that from whence you originally came from.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So if you want to break the word religion down, but religion for us was basically it's spirituality, right?
Got you.
And it's science because when you go back to the beginning, like I'm telling you about, you'll understand that nature was our first teacher.
Got you.
Right?
Yes.
And following that Nile River, you understand the Nile River, which was the cultural highway of the time, or what Herodotus called the gift of Egypt. Not the Nile River was the gift.
Yes.
Right? And our ancestors, the first to walk the face of the earth, called the Twa and Buti, misnomered pygmies.
Yes.
It would be these people who were around the Ituri forest and the Khoisan who would be around the Kalahari Desert. It would be these people who would take their culture, their technology, and follow the Nile River and eventually leave it and go and populate the rest of the earth, right? So when I say nature is our first teacher, man, you got to learn how to eat, brother.
Yeah.
So you talk about food, like hunter-gatherer.
Yes.
You start talking about how to build families and sharing.
Yes.
That's like the first steps to culture, right?
Yes.
And then because of like your climate and stuff like that, because if your lifeblood is agriculture, you got to understand seasonal and climatic changes. So we looked up to the heavens, the stars. Man. I mean, we're the first astrologists, man. We're the first stargazers.
Got you.
Because back then the sky was crystal clear, so we were able to map the heavens.
Yes.
Right. So if you really want to go back to that seed, that first kernel. Yes. Right. I think we could go there because when you look at major religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they all have the origins in African spirituality.
Got you. Yes.
And if you look at any of the books, they're basically overlays of the pyramid text, the coffin text.
Yes.
The writings that are on the walls today that were etched in stone for posterior's sake.
Yes.
You can go find them same stories in the Bible on those walls.
Got you.
So we can start with the science first, the agriculture, and everything else flows from there, man, because it all comes from there. And they've seen that, that spirituality was in everything that they did.
Yes.
They may have gave it different names and made people think it was polytheistic, but they were just giving, giving names and ideas to the various energies or the many faces of the Creator.
Yes.
Right? They understood that there was only one God. Oh yeah, monotheistic at the core.
Yes. But
they understood that God has many faces and many energies and all that kind of stuff like that. That's why they call it like neter.
Okay.
Like you study mother. You wonder where the word Mother Nature comes from. It comes from neter.
Got you.
Right, which is the essence of the Creator. Right. So yeah, we can start there.
Wow.
That might be a great place to start because it'll clear up all this. This Hollywood stuff out there.
This is fascinating, man. So, in the course of a day, right? In the course of a day, how far is your mind dwelling on your planning and preparation for you needing to do more, right?
Man, I'm thinking about it all the time, man. Okay. Obviously, probably my first 10 to 12 hours a day because I got to commute, a little over an hour to go to work.
Yes.
And work and come and wind down, man. So I'm always just kind of, squeeze a little bit of reading in, but I'm also always like, writing down my thoughts and all that kind of stuff like that, outlines.
Yes.
On what I want to do, right? So, little bit at a time. But it certainly, consumes, a part of my day. So, it's an interesting thing, man. So sometimes, like, if I wake up in the middle of the night, that's where I'm going, brother. That's where I'm going, man. I'll leave that room, man. I'll go start reviewing some stuff or something I read. I'll research it further.
Yeah.
And just keep studying that, man, and polishing it up, man. Just try to make sure I understand it, where did it come from.
Yes.
Highlight. That's what I do, but I'm just one of them type brothers, man. I read every word in the book. If I don't understand something, the thing about the phones today and the tablets, man, you can stop, look a word up.
Yeah.
You can easily cross-reference something like that.
Yes.
That's me, brother.
Okay. Now, with the time that we have left, is there anything that we have not touched upon that you would want the listening audience to know about you and about your deep dive in research, historical research?
Hey, man, we covered a lot in an hour, brother.
Yeah, we did, man. We did.
and just think, man, that wouldn't even equate into a raindrop.
Yes.
Of the whole body of this knowledge, right? And one of the things that I always say is, the more that I keep reading and studying,
yes, the
more I realize how much I don't know and how much more I need to do.
Yes.
Right?
Gotcha.
So, as far as like outside of this, man, I'm just, like most folks, man, I'm always trying to get my dollars up.
Understood, man. Understood.
And I've been married to my college sweetheart, man, who I met on a blind date for 27 years.
Wow.
And I have two adult sons.
Yes.
Who are doing very well.
Yes.
And what else? I think that pretty much captures me. Oh, for people that don't know me, man, I'm also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Oh, wow.
Coming up on 30 years, man.
What?
So, yeah, man.
30. Wow, man.
Yeah, coming up on 30 years. Man. Yeah, long time, brother.
Yeah. Wow.
And we put in major work, man. My chapter's in New Rochelle, New York. So
okay.
Westchester County, man. So we put in mad work down there, man. We're like entrenched in that community down there, politically.
Okay.
Socially, man. As far as like with the children and all that, man. I mean, there's not a aspect of life down there that we don't touch and participate in.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, I want to ask you to do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
You have mentioned a lot of books. Slowly
Yes,
but surely, can you give me 3 books that could be like starter books for our listeners? If they want to.
Absolutely.
Okay, just go real slow. Okay, what's the first book?
I would start with The African Origin of Egyptian Civilization.
And who is that by?
The author's name is Sheikh, Cheikh.
Okay.
Middle name Anta, Anta.
Yes.
His last name is pronounced Diop, but it's spelled like Diop. D as in David,
yes.
I, O as in Oscar, P as in Paul, right?
Yes.
The second book I would recommend would be The Destruction of Black Civilization.
Yes.
And that's by Chancellor Williams.
Okay.
Chancellor, last name Williams. And then this is a book, man. Anytime I go to a bookstore, man, I always buy about 5 or 10 copies of this one and I give it away.
Yeah.
100 Amazing Facts About the Negro.
Okay.
By J. A. Rogers, Rogers.
Okay.
That's enough to take folks up probably until like 2023, man.
Wow. Yeah, Kurt, man, this has been fantastic. I feel like I've been drenched, man, with Mother Earth upon me, bro. This has been great. So we've got to make a date to do this more often, and we've got to find a way to give it to them in smaller chunks, like maybe 15, 20, 30-minute chunks.
Hey, man, you know what? Somebody say, hey, man, you drop that knowledge, bro, like you go hard on the court, bro.
Yeah, man, no, but listen, man, this was fantastic. Man, that's why I had to slow you down from the beginning to make sure people could catch up. This was fantastic, yes.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man, I can't say thank you enough, man, for the opportunity, right, man. I'm humbled, I'm honored, I'm privileged, man. Anytime somebody give Brother Kirkland an opportunity to come out and talk about, something that is true and dear to my heart, man. So
yeah.
I appreciate you letting me come on your platform, brother.
Thank you, brother.
You don't realize the power that you have, man. And whatever it is, but I'm so glad that I knew one of your last guests, man, Gary McKeithen, a.k.a. Eddie Mack.
Eddie Mack,
that told
yes.
me about this.
Yes.
Or man, I probably would have never really known, man. I mean, I probably would eventually, we would have bumped into each other, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that brother, man, me and him been friends for years. We met on that floor we're talking about.
Third floor. Yep.
And he shared it with me, man. So that's kind of like, there's an example right there, Kevin, on how this whole thing works about information.
Yes.
Travel's like warp speed, brother.
Yes.
But yeah. I thank you. Can't thank you enough.
You are quite welcome. We're going to stay in touch. Oh, I'm sorry. If folks want to follow up and folks want to reach out to you, what would be a best contact for them to do so?
I tell you what, man, they can send an email.
Yes.
To KOOL.
Yes.
22 KIRK @gmail.com.
Gotcha.
So that spells cool with a K, 22 Kirk.
Yeah, cool 22 Kirk.
Yeah. So pick that name up probably
Yeah.
second semester freshman year.
Okay.
From a couple of my boys from New York, man, that started calling me Cool Kirk. Everybody called me Kirk. Right? My name is Lyndon Kirk, obviously, like you said.
Yeah. It's Lyndon Kirkland, but we just cut. We lazy. We just cut it short. Kurt
rolls off the tongue better, right? Brother?
Yeah.
And then I met these two brothers, man, from New York, man. Started calling me Cool Kirk.
Yes.
And the name has stuck ever since, man.
Wow.
So, in a humorous way, I created an email address to reflect that.
That's all right, man. No, you have been so refreshing. And this has been so informative, man. Wow. And it like you said, the deeper you get into this, the more you realize you don't know. Wow.
And brother, the other thing too, right?
Yes.
Like I could go on and on and on to the break of dawn, bro. This, right? As you probably can tell. But I think, like you said, man, like the breaking it down into pieces, man. I mean, like we've been doing this for like an hour and like 22 minutes or something like that, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and I'm sweating, man. I'm looking for a towel. I probably ain't gonna be able to go to bed for another 45 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. Listen, when you're dropping the signs, you're going to be amped up because this is nourishment for the soul, right? Nourishment for the soul, brother. So, but I thank you, man. I thank you,
brother. I'm grateful, man, and I thank you so much, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I mean, you don't realize, bro. You got a powerful platform there, man. I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. So, listen, let's do this, Kirk. Let's talk and text later on, man, because I want to bring you back on the platform so we can go slow and give them just a little tidbit, right? We don't have to overwhelm them, but
right. We can break it down in topics, right? So I was basically skating over a broad canopy, brother.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We can break it down into like topics and just focus on that one area.
That would be something that I would love to do. And the other thing that we can also even consider is if we plan this further out, we can do a Zoom platform, right? And invite folks onto the platform to actually see and hear, because sometimes with information like this, there needs to be a visual effect, not so much audio, but audio and visual. Because man, this is earth shattering, earth shaking. That they get to be a part of this platform.
Yeah, and then it'll also allow like maybe you allow enough time, like you do maybe like 40 minutes to like slides and presentation, and then you allow some time for Q&A.
Absolutely. And that's going to really drive home the issue of importance of who we are.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much.
So we're going to keep talking, but we're going to find a way to make it happen for the next time we gather on this platform.
Absolutely.
All right, bro.
Thank you, brother. Good night.
Good night. We'll talk and text in a minute, man. Peace.
Yep. Hotel.
Yes, sir.
That concludes another episode of The Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. We hope you found this episode informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, please call 609-731-9311 or email kevin@minding-our-business.com. We look forward to joining us for our next one. Until next time.